and it's a new day. We had all the intentions of getting up early for our big day. The sun is rising. But after taking all the footage off the dash cam, Mark didn't get to bed till 1 o'clock. All right, let it begin.
So today's video is about how to measure your motorhome to be able to order the Summit Products stainless steel armor for your motorhome. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, you would do that if you wanted to order this product and put it on yourself, and you'll see how they do it professionally at Summit in Altoona, Iowa, so that you can get an idea to see if that's something that you want to attempt. Or you learn how to measure it and order it properly so you can take this product in hand to your favorite RV place and have them put it on. Or Summit Products is happy to arrange for you to come to them and have them install it. It looks like, weather permitting, they can put about 2 motor coaches through their backyard installation area, and if the weather is a factor, they do have somewhere where they can actually do the install under cover. You want to keep in mind the seasons, winter, snow, and if this is something that you want them to do professionally, kind of the experts to have it put on, call them early enough so that you can plan and reserve the time that you're going to be driving through that area so you can get it done like we did in this video. So Summit Products is the umbrella company for a lot of different things that they're involved in, and here's an example of one of them. It's Fresco windows. Now you could see that this is a pretty high-tech, innovative window that clicks in and clicks out and then travels in a track. There's a screen that also shares that track, and in back of me is a motorhome window that is electrically operated. But it's the next building that we're going to go into that really was the showstopper. They have an amazing amount of capital investment for the Matrix product.
Type stuff that we're working on. This will be a tent version, you can see.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a tailgater package. The sound bar goes up there and a TV mount.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God!
So it's been pretty popular.
Woo! Wow. Well, you know, we're from Wisconsin. Those darn Green Bay Packer fans are tailgaters. They're gonna love seeing this stuff.
So this is the very first one, so there's some things that need to be changed on it, but just give you the idea.
So they've got this new building. Just took occupancy about a month ago. You can see the room they have to do what they're doing. On the other side is where they do their powder paint coating. Said they can do in one day what used to take them 5 days. Wow.
We're just going to do a quick walkthrough there, and then I'm going to let you guys
Wow.
Want to do the measurement themselves, or to whatever body shop that's doing the work. Pretty much this is the driver's side, front to back, passenger side, front to back, and then of course the coach information here, and whatever, if there's a dealership or a body shop that's doing the work, we'll fill that in, and then of course your information, and then what we're going to be installing. And there's no consistency between every coach. Sometimes there is, generally there's not.
Mm-hmm.
If we're doing OEM products, everything's cut the same, sent the same. They make any adjustments out there at the OEM.
Mm-hmm.
For customer vert, everything's done exact custom, And so what we do is we have every coach measured for just in case there's a 16th or a 8th inch
Usually
off
it's
or
small
quarter inch off.
variances.
Yeah. But sometimes that variance can make a difference because when your doors are opening and closing, if that variance hits, it starts
Right.
rubbing.
For the customers that are going to be measuring and getting the product and either installing it themselves or going to a RV shop to have it done, you're going to tell us if you should measure on the shy side, small.
Well, our typical suggestion is to measure to the 16th.
Okay, measure to the nearest 16th.
Correct.
And if that means you're rounding up, that's
Round.
what you prefer.
Round down.
Oh, round down.
Round down.
Round down. Yeah.
Okay.
No, so it's like a lot of these doors, if you're like slightly too long, and like when your doors open like left to right,
Yeah.
if they're just jarred a little bit to the right,
Yeah.
then that stainless, if it's long, it'll kind of collide with the next door.
Yeah.
So that's why you're going to be spot on or just a shy little short. So.
Okay. And the customer, I know you guys would know what to do, but if the customer ends up with one or two sections that should have been maybe a little shorter, they got to know that before they stick it on there, or they'll have a real problem taking it
The
off.
installation process there is a little different. It's a little different. And when I say that is, we suggest that the customer pre-fits everything before they actually install it, because that way, if it does come up bad, call us up and we can recut it and send them a new panel.
The customer can't change the length themselves by grinding or anything. They're going to screw it up.
So, there's a very iffy thing about that. If it's like something, if there's just a little spot that needs grinded down, it can be. The problem is, since it's mirrored polish, the heat will change the color of it. So if you do, you have to be super careful. To not not let it get too hot.
So you guys have installed this. You guys know what the average capabilities. Think of some of your friends. Think of some of your friends. Could they install this the first time one-off themselves?
I would say on average it's 50-50. It depends on the capability of the person and how they want to do it.
And if they don't care if it's crooked.
That's pretty much. And we just in the early stages when you had a conversation with Kelly, is we'll explain that over the phone. Is that we want to make sure that the client, the customer, is understanding that if they do the measurement themselves, that they're responsible for the measurements to make sure everything's done right, and that they're communicating to us that hey, if there's a notch or if there's something different or if it's not whatever up front, and that way when we make the kit, when we ship it out, and everything gets fitted, if something's wrong, if it's done wrong, either we cut it wrong or we got the wrong measurement. The one thing I do want to point out, you asked me about the measurement sheet. Not everything is the same per coach. And what I mean by that is there are a couple sheets on here that are going to be different.
Okay.
And especially with that is like here, we have our offset mirror. This is going to be for your dock lights. Okay. You have here this one. This is going to be a little high. Now I know Kelly. He included this one just in case because he wasn't absolutely 100% if your dock lights are because sometimes the dock lights up here will be clear, but there'll be a dock light back there that'll be sitting low. And you don't have that case with yours. So
you're saying that is important. You're saying that you got to know the X and the Y and where that dock light is, and you have to know the dimensions of the dock light. And I noticed that your B dimension, it looks like it's the lens.
Yeah, just the lens. Because the rubber will go around and it'll sit on top of the stainless. That'll come off. That'll come off, the stainless will go on, and that'll go back over over the light. And then you have a couple other sheets here. Now, this won't be included every time. It's just that if we have a suspicion that this is going to be a part of it. If it's not, we won't include it. And we usually try to keep track of coach per coach, and then we'll put drawings and stuff online to make sure that we're getting it. This is your departure angle. This is going to be the last door on the end of the coach. And sometimes it's going to be on both sides, sometimes it's one. But basically, it's going to be the total height of the door, the width of the door, and this will give us what the angle to cut. On our website right now, the rvstainless.com site, there is the old version. How we used to do this would have a measure across the top and a measure the face. We don't do that anymore because all of our kits are basically standard with all the different steps that we have on all the coaches. There's 5 styles that we fit. We have 5 kits, and all of them the same. You measure across the top step, and you tell us the design of the step, and we know exactly what you want. How old we go back on the coaches? We'll go back pretty old. I think the oldest I've done is a 08 Tiffin red.
I did one a couple weeks ago. It wasn't an install here on site, but it was a Customer ordered it. They measured it. It was a 2004.
Oh,
I don't remember what it was, but it was pretty old.
That one of the tricks of, if as long as the door hasn't changed shape, but if there's a couple of whack marks in here, and you guys and the customer, because he's ordering it remotely, has to understand that if it still fits on there, if the door shape hasn't changed, but it's got some whack marks in there, by putting your product on there, problem solved, and plus it brings the look of the coach, you know,
Absolutely.
up a number of years.
Yeah.
I think I just want to give an appreciation for customers so that when they're signing up to do this themselves or get the product and have their body shop do it in a clean environment that's got the right chemicals to clean. I imagine you're wiping this with something so the adhesive, it's not caulked on or glued on, it's adhesive taped on.
Well, there is adhesive tape, but it's a two-part process. We have adhesive tape that's pre-applied to the armor, but that's only there to hold it while the urethane that we apply cures.
Okay.
But there's also a pre-applied primer that's going to be on there that will be done by us. So you'll know where to place the dollop of the one
How do you know if you measure the smallest radius distance, like from here to here, would be like the smallest?
The measurement is typically done right when the body starts to bend under.
Yep. So see where you're coming down straight and you just start to curve under. We want to get that line right here.
Okay. So right at the tangent point.
At the tangent point is where we want to measure.
Between the bottom radius and the flat.
Yep.
So there's some imaginary tangent point. That's where he's measuring.
Yep. That's where our most consistent numbers are going to be. Because if you come up here, you're going to slightly get into a radius and it's going to be off. So, hey, you want to come down here and I'm getting 6.5.
All right, I'm going to measure the next one.
All right.
And I'm gonna remember the number rather than tell you it. So I'm gonna say, all right, I'm going to the imaginary tangent point. Okay, you measure it and now.
Ah, we're comparing. Let's see if Mark's a good student.
Let's go 12 and 11/16.
Ding, 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 ding. That's what I went to.
Perfect.
Right.
One big thing I want to point out is you guys don't have it on yours. There are some coaches where this flaring on the fender wheel panels come all the way down.
Oh.
And a big thing where some people mess up, and I think we have it stated, but some people forget, is that they'll measure from here to where the flaring stops. We want them to measure the entire thing because we already have the CAD that we know the width to take off for that flaring. So
especially if we're doing any kind of wheel well molding, which you guys aren't doing today, and I wouldn't suggest for this coach anyways. Yeah. But it is always a 7/8 of an inch.
Yeah. So would it jar your memory and help not having errors if when the customer is doing the measuring, if they had a dock light, if they have flaring here that looks a little bumpy, that they include a photograph, not of every door, that's monotonous, but the oddball things on here. And if they're tech savvy enough to be able to put on the photo where they took the dimension, because what you just told me is to measure from this face along this imaginary tangent all the way to this place, even if there's a bump here, because you know where to stop this, because you don't go over the bump.
Yeah, it's very helpful to me, because I'm the one that draws them up most of the time when they provide a picture after they measure it. At least on the wheel well panels, because then I can see how they measured it and if I need to correct it or not. So.
Okay, show his tape measure on the end here, honey, when he decides on something.
And we'll do 33 and 9/16.
You will notice that the only one using the knee pad is Sue and Mark.
47 and 9/16.
Okay, and I saw that you did slightly go down because it just didn't quite make it.
It was just slightly over.
Yeah.
Like a 32nd or 64.
Yeah.
47 and 9/16. See that one there too? It's just hair over.
Right, because up here it looks like 5/8, but
Yep.
you know, you come down just that tiny tad.
Yep.
Okay, watch your head on here. I've whacked my head in 400 times.
$47 and 9/16.
Yeah.
I like that one. All right, and this one we start our angle, so departure. So what I'm going to do here is at the very front of it, I'm going to grab onto this back lip, and I'm going to bend the. It's better if you have a more flexible tape measure. And I'm going to go all the way to the top line here. Try to keep it as flush at the bottom as I can, so it doesn't vary. And then we're going to go 30 and 1/8. See where I'm getting that?
Oh, 30,
Top of the door.
30 and 1/8. Or no, I was wrong. 30 and 5/8. Sorry.
30 and 5/8. Okay, so what you're measuring to
Is that
is
top
this.
line? Yep. Yep.
Okay, and what you're trying to create is this line here,
Yep. All the way to this back.
all the way to here.
Yep.
But then we're gonna probably take a width dimension of this door.
Yep. And that was the first thing I did at the bottom there.
Okay,
Yep.
and then we'll be taking a height again from here
Yep.
to the corner,
Yep. And that'll give us our departure angle.
which is down here, because what Austin's saying is this was square to the world with the rest of them, but
Yeah.
now this one and this one is departing up to provide clearance for the sidewalks.
Correct. So I'm gonna get this back one here.
Wrapping all the way around the bottom.
There, I'm getting. There's my 30 and 1/8. So. Okay.
Do that one again. So to me that looked 30 and 3/16. What was I looking at?
It's like right in the middle of them, so I was kind of rounding down.
Oh, okay.
Rounding
good.
down. Okay.
Yeah.
Remember that, Mark. Round down.
Yeah, round down.
Everything else.
The 8-inch. You're going to cover these two if you want to add those. And they're about, I think, $42, $46 each. If you want to add those or not.
What do you guys think? How does it look? So
For consistency, I typically suggest it, but it's.
So then you're saying this shadow here would be carried on by
Yeah,
picking
just
up these two.
Make it make
Yeah.
it flow better.
Yeah, well, let's do that if you've got the technology.
Oh yeah. On some coaches, your door doesn't come all the way down. It's right here. They'll measure the door independent, and there'll be two pieces here instead of one. But you don't have that, so it's not going to be that big of a deal.
Now this is the driver's side, so these are D numbers, D1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to have 3 D numbers here right off the bat.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
So this one, I like to grab where you can actually get on the seam and go the other way.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Grab the seam and work backwards and eyeball it.
So the bead here is actually pretty nice. There's some coaches where it's just big blobs, and sometimes we'll trim it so it's nice and straight, so we can get a clean line where the stainless goes. But I like how this one is. We'll go 22 and 5/16.
So now when I went, so he is very consistent. If it's not even, it's got to be exactly for you to use the exact number.
Yep.
I did, how important is it to make sure all your latches are adjusted correctly before you put the metal on? Because I did that. Yesterday or the day before, I went through and I adjusted all my latches. Not that it changes the height that much, but I could see a little change.
bit, yeah.
So the customer should do that first before he or she gets here, to make sure that the latches are where you want them, because if the door is moving up or down to stay latched, that really affects where the metal is going to be
It
put.
does, because
If we install it and you do the adjustment afterwards,
it's going to be off.
Yeah.
So. Generally, for a radiator, we'll already have angles and everything down because these are usually pretty consistent between different coaches per model. But yeah. This more just double check anyway. 3 and 13/16. Oh, 3 and 5/16.
So you have 2 dimensions there.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you build that?
So
I mean, this radius and this flat is made in a die. So are you cutting? What are you cutting crooked? If you got 2 dimensions.
The radius is going to be consistent with the profile of the coach.
Yeah.
But what he's getting here is the laser will cut it flat, and then they'll put it in the die. And
So
press it.
the top end that is shown is what I will keep straight.
Yeah.
With the angles, I will take. So it would be the bottom piece that wraps underneath. That's where I put the angle.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
and then while you put it on, it'll show nice and flush up top.
All those dimensions that you took here for the door lengths, do you have a bunch of that already made and you're going to be cutting it off like sausages? Or is literally every piece going to be laser cut and they're going to just...
Everyone's laser cut, and then goes to the press brake to get the bend profile.
All right.
100% custom.
Yep.
Wow.
I better start talking so that they can start bending.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
So for grow caps, to where it's visible, this line is where you want to measure to. You don't want to go all the way inside, or you're going to have a hard time getting it in because you won't have enough room down here to sneak it on the other
So
side.
you're saying visible meaning this edge,
Yep.
that
Imaginary
edge.
line straight from here all
Right.
the way in.
Right, and then Austin was saying then they would be able to slip it in and center it so that if you're standing looking, you really can't see it until you're looking at it slightly at an angle.
Yeah.
Then you'll see that little black area,
Yeah.
which doesn't mean anything. And I do not want this done. I don't want it accentuated, but if somebody did wanted to do it, you're literally just measuring this door, or
We just replace the door, right?
oh, you replaced the
Yeah,
whole
we
door.
have those in stock.
Okay.
So macerator doors and latches we all have in stock.
So yesterday we left the rig open when they measured. They said it would be pretty fast. But today we are going to close up the slides so they have a little bit more comfort in putting the actual panels on. So it's a new day. The panels are getting on and Myles is going to look good.
I don't really know what I'm talking about, but I did look this Sikaflex up, and this is typically what Newmar uses. So I'm glad to see that you guys use it. And then there's a couple of different numbers. One is more like, I don't want to say a caulk, but it's more like a sealant. And one is an adhesive.
Yep.
This is the adhesive.
This is the
one.
adhesive, yes.
Yeah.
It's structurally rated. It's pretty strong stuff. So.
And what's the significance of the black splotches that I see here?
It is a primer that allows this to cure.
Oh.
Gets rid of any chemical residue and
Okay.
just allows it to set nice.
All right, so that's a pre-applied accelerant that's gonna, okay, and you know all of these pieces here obviously have this protection on here that gets peeled off afterwards. Austin was showing that these are going to cover the little radiator fins here, and then these pieces here. This is probably the bottom
That's
of the
the bottom
radiator,
of the radiator
because there isn't much to it. And it's got the protective coating on it, but that's what it looks like.
Yep.
So you can see that this nice radiator. Boy, you don't even see any tool marks.
Oh, you
or
can
anything.
no, you cannot.
Yeah. And how many bumps is that?
It's a few.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, so he or she is just clunk, 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 along that tool. Wow.
And then this, the VHB tape is just to allow it to stick to the coach while the Sika cures.
Oh,
So
to
this,
hold it while
that's
it's
to hold it in
hanging on
place. Yep.
Okay.
So you can see all the panels are laid in place to match the correct bay door.
Dry fit. So we're just going to go through and dry fit everything real quick.
Oh, okay, got it. Dry fitting. Nice.
So it was my observation that during the dry fitting process, Mary Ann and Christian were getting a feel for which of the many doors that go across the motorhome, which one was the lowest. And they, I think, took that into account when they came up with a dimension that they used to snap that line at. I can tell you in my case, after the fact, when I was able to study up how these panels fit the door, I noticed that some of them were snug with the radius of the stainless right up against the radius of the baggage door. But as you went left to right or right to left, and the installers were trying to approximate that line to maintain it all across the coach, that in fact the radius of the stainless would not quite be sitting line on line with the radius of the door. And that's the way you want it. You want the stainless to look like it's contiguous left to right, and not necessarily worry about the radius being line on line with the radius of the OEM baggage door. It's kind of a science, it's kind of an art. It's like the difference between the average person doing body work and an actual body shop professional. In having the privilege to watch this crew set up for this job, you could tell that they spent a lot of time figuring out how they could start the job correctly so it would end correctly. And it was really reassuring that they just didn't come out and start slamming these panels on, and you'd end up getting what you get. As far as I'm concerned, this is definitely a two-person job. To be able to handle these panels and not have it suddenly flip against and glue itself to the door, they were constantly shifting the panel ever so slightly left to right to make sure that the panel did not stick out past the doors, so that the articulation of the adjacent door wouldn't be impacted, where you would actually slam the stainless edge into the stainless face of the adjacent door. And then they communicated with each other like, okay, I think this is it. And then they would press it into position and roll the dollop of adhesive tight. I tried to eliminate showing as few panels being installed as possible, so I didn't have any repetition. But this one I needed to show because it was the one that required the most reforming or slightly bending that radius to splay it out a little bit so that Mary Ann and Christian could creep it up to the snapped line so that it would be in line with the door to the right and left of this door. Now, if you were able to go out to this baggage door, and certainly the baggage door that's right in front of my rear drive wheels, those, as it turned out, were the ones that had that radius that Mary Ann is working on the furthest away from the OEM radius of the baggage door. You'd never know it because the stainless looks perfectly contiguous left to right, and that's what you want. When you're covering that radius up with this product, the radius of the baggage door itself starts to become irrelevant, except if it's forcing the stainless not to be able to be brought up high enough to follow this chalk line that you have in. That, I think, is the trick, and that is the professionalism of doing this install correctly to get the correct look. So you may be wondering, hey Mark, what's it going to look like when that radius is away from the door and I open it up like you see Marianne doing there in the video? Well, in fact, what she's doing is taking caulk that's the same color of the baggage door, and she's filling in that slight gap that might exist on some of the installed panels. Remember, sooner or later, some of the panels will probably be line on line because they were the ones that were used as the 0 point, and then from that point you drift away on some of the ones that don't fit tight. So it's really good the way things are set up here. When you wake up in the morning and you're doing your install, if it's a little bit cool, you start on the passenger side, because you can count on having shade on the driver's side. But if you would to show up here and it was raining or it was bad weather, they've got this purpose modified building here to be able to actually do the install in here. And you can see that the effort that went into getting ready for situations like that, they actually had to go and hire an engineering firm and check how they can modify these trusses. And they in fact did that so it can accommodate a motorhome. And then you would have your install done in here, which, trust me, it's nice and cool in here and super clean like the entire facility is. It turns out that these step covers are probably one of the most popular things Summit supplies. And I can see why. These steps take a beating, you coming in and out of your coach all the time, and spray painting your steps every couple of years is a little ridiculous. Covering them with this stainless steel product, it'll have then a sandpaper pad on it. You can put step covers on it like we have, but what I want you to see here is the little trick that Marianne uses. Of course, you peel the adhesive away in an area that you can't get at later, but she dry fits it, gets everything good, got it good to go, pushes the adhesive there, and then pulls out the pencils on each side to drop it into position. There's the trick you need, folks. You can probably put this on yourself. When this grip pad went on, about 10 people were watching her do this. And I remember thinking, boy, if I had to do this, that pad probably would have ended up on the hubcap.
Okay. Now, those out of the way, this pulls loose. The trim ring should pop out. I can't get my finger. Okay. What I want to do is try to shimmy this out of the way. I'll just take this off and then set it aside. And we want the guys to see is on the inside of the door, you'll find an actuator. He has a key fob, remote door locks. There's a little clip right here. And this arm swings out of the way, just like that. Then you just remove that and just rotate it. Now, the outside assembly should come right on out. Wow. Just like so. Wow. Okay? This you have to maintain. You have to put this into the new latch. So, we'll go over here. And we have a new latch. Okay. In order for this to go in easily, this hole needs to be drilled. Okay. You know, they didn't do that for you when they brought you the latch. When we go back in, you have to bring, I like to hold the paddle out. You want to get the dead bolt into the hole. sometimes it takes an extra hand.
You lift that plastic thing.
Is it
Yeah, you're
in
banging.
the way?
Yep,
Okay,
there you go.
there you go. Okay, so now, okay.
Did you hook the electric?
Nope, we didn't do that. Good,
Okay.
good point. Good point. Give me the needle nose. I can't hang on to this. So slow. There we go. I got it. Okay. We come around. We'll put the trim on. Okay.
Here's a close-up of the engineer Austin putting the trim ring on, the final process of the whole install. But if you look in the handle, you'll see Kelly. Now, Kelly has been the mentor of all of these different people over the years, and he's wrapping up his long career, getting ready to retire. And you can see that he has trained plenty of people, and they will be able to carry on this excellent installation and work with all of the various products that they have in process right now, as well as what's coming down the pike. Here is how our project turned out, the before and after pictures. We invite you to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of the exciting other episodes that we've got coming down the pike. And so until we meet you on the road or in a campground someday, we invite you to join us every Sunday morning on YouTube for another episode of our journey in Myles.
Now what are you doing, Mark?
Well, I don't know about you, Sue, but I'm really liking the way the Dutch Star's been dressed up with the stainless panels from Summit Products. So I'm going to go into the engineering office and see if they can pony up a quick set for the Honda. I'll be right back.
Oh, Mark.